Hello, and welcome to the ASDRP Researcher Interview Series. Today, I'll be talking with Azhahini Krishnamoorthy. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. How are you doing?
Thank you for asking. I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. To start us off, could you tell me a little bit about yourself? So, what high school you go to, or any hobbies or things like that?
I'm a rising junior at American High School in Fremont, class of 2024. And some of my hobbies are research, drawing, and playing badminton.
That's awesome. How did you find out about ASDRP?
So I first found out about ASDRP through one of my friends who had already joined and was researching in the chemistry lab. And as spring applications had just opened up, I thought it was a great opportunity to get hands-on experience in any desired field. And it's very hard to find locally, so I was very grateful. And after a little bit, I got in, and I have been working with my group at ASDRP ever since.
That's awesome. It's a great story. Did you have any research experience prior to ASDRP?
I just had experience at my chemistry class doing labs, which I find very similar to ASDRP. However, at ASDRP, you get so much more hands-on experience with equipment that you've never used before, and it's really nice, yeah.
That's great. And so who is your advisor this summer?
My advisor is Mr. Amadi. He's an amazing mentor, and he's always available to help out whenever, and he actually comes to lab every single night whenever we go and stays with us. And even if it's late, he always guides us through each and every step. And during the hard topics, he understands that we're just high schoolers, and he's a very patient person, which I admire.
That's really awesome. That's so wonderful to hear about your advisor.
Yeah.
What project are you currently working on?
So the official title of our project is the development of a potential mRNA and synthetic Nipah vaccine. So to get started, the Nipah virus is a virus that causes something called fatal encephalitis, which is swelling of the brain. And it doesn't only affect humans, it also affects animals as well, which is detrimental to us because it affects our agricultural supply chain as well. And it's very similar to the COVID-19 in the way that it spreads and functions. So it shows the importance of this project as well. And in our project, we're analyzing both glycoproteins, Ephrin B2 and B3, and the Nipah virus glycoproteins, F and G. And what these glycoproteins do is that they're a focus of the immune responses, which make it like the main target of our neutralizing antibodies. So essentially what we're trying to do is create an immune response to the virus through a prototype mRNA vaccine without actually injecting the actual virus to create an immune response. And so far, there have been a couple of other groups and companies who have been trying to essentially accomplish the same goal as us. Or another one is the use of remdesivir, which is a medication. However, there are no licensed treatments available so far. So that's what we're trying to accomplish through this project.
Wow, that sounds like a really fascinating research project.
Yes, it definitely is.
That is super cool. That's really amazing what you're doing. Especially as I've heard of, the mRNA vaccines are relatively newer technology. Do you happen to know if this will be the first mRNA vaccine for animals? Or
I'm not sure about mRNA vaccines for animals, but our product is basically focusing on the Nipah virus, which affects both humans and animals as well. So it's a more broader topic.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
That's really interesting, like the broad scope of the ability of the vaccine. I didn't realize that was possible for both humans and animals to receive two like similar things like that.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you're testing it without injecting it. How does that work? What do your activities in the lab look like?
So basically, we have like a procedure that Mr. Amadi gives, and he explains us through every single step. So we run like PCR, or eventually, soon enough, after fragments come in, we're going to use mass spectrometry, which is really exciting. And we usually use like the centrifuge and different equipment to create and isolate protein throughout our project.
Could you describe a little bit more about how the activities in the lab connect with developing the potential vaccine and
Okay.
like how they connect?
Yeah, so basically the first spring semester that I joined was mostly research because this project is relatively new. It just started as soon as I joined. So after the research step, that's when you start going into lab more often and isolating bacteria and following the procedure of creating the vaccine. However, to release it into the real world, it takes like many, many years because there's so many clinical trials that you have to go through, different phases of human trials. So that will take a really, really long time, but hopefully through our prototype, we are going through the steps of creating the vaccine.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And maybe one will come out of here someday. That's super
Yes,
cool.
hopefully.
What is a challenge you've encountered so far in your research?
One challenge that I've occurred in the research is our fragments not coming in time during the spring semester, and that really slowed down our part, like our research role. And so during the summer, we have been trying to change this, and we've ordered from a different company in hopes of it coming sooner, and also got to experiment with different things. And during this summer semester, we did get new additions to our team. So learning and changing our procedure to accommodate is a really big process at ASDRP.
Definitely. Yeah. What is the team environment like? What is it like working with your group?
Oh, it's really amazing. My whole group is so like accommodating, and us all combining together is what essentially makes the project come to life. And we all have different backgrounds and skill sets, which are basically essential to our project. And by working together, we're always learning from each other every single time we go to lab. And every time you ask a question to someone, they're always available to help you. And my fellow researchers have really been a key part in my research experience.
It's so great to hear that about your team. I'm really glad it's been so good.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering what has been the most rewarding thing that you've experienced here so far.
The most rewarding is always being exposed to so much new equipment, and also seeing the hands-on experience that you get. In this case, to like potentially create a vaccine at such a young age, it's incredible. And also working with respected mentors like Mr. Amadi is truly amazing. Also, every time we work on a procedure and move to the next step, it's crazy to think like, wow, I accomplished that and stuff like that.
Absolutely. And it's so great because it's just you guys are just a testament and example to how much you can achieve at
Yeah.
a young age, and high schoolers are totally capable of this high level research, and I'm so glad that you have the opportunity to explore that. That's really cool. Um, and do you feel as though your research has changed anything about the way that you view the world?
Definitely, 100%, especially after coming back from the pandemic. I think the subject of vaccines is super important and applicable to daily life now, seeing how the virus has affected essentially the whole world. And being a part of this project has allowed me to dig deeper into the procedure of how to create a vaccine. And it has really opened my eyes to how much effort and how long it really takes. And not only just creating the vaccine prototype, but also the clinical testing trials. They take many, many years, which is truly amazing.
Definitely. Yeah, it's super cool. Um, Before I ask my final question, is there anything else that you'd like to share today? Any stories or anything else?
I would just like to express how grateful I am for ASDRP and Mr. Ahmadi. Through this wonderful opportunity, I've gotten the pleasure of working with an incredibly talented group of individuals, and I'm able to go into lab and use equipment that I never would have been exposed to otherwise.
That's awesome. Thank you for those kind words and the amazing review. For my final question, I would love to know what advice you'd give to a future researcher looking to join ASDRP.
One piece of advice that I would give is to start early. I would consider I started pretty early as well, which really helped me understand the project more and be there during the research part as well, which was key during the lab part. And finding a project that you're genuinely passionate about and interested in researching, it really helps the process and your team members. And although I'd never worked in a lab before, simple things such as participating in science fairs and working on labs in my chemistry class gave me an insight on what I would be dealing with and working with at ASDRP.
That's great advice. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you so much for joining me today and teaching me more about the mRNA vaccine and your research process and yourself.
Yeah,
Good luck with everything else this summer, and I'm so excited to see where your project takes you.
thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.